The sales leadership, sales management, that is you until you grow out of it. No one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You can't outsource it.
At the end of the day, we all work very hard. You want to make sure that you're extracting the maximum amount of profit from the business that you can. Our data shows a clear correlation between OML and profitability.
So you don't have enough budget for a full leadership team. And so you're the CFO essentially. You might have an accounts person, but they're not running it like a CFO would run a 30 person or a 40 person or a 50 person business.
And you need to make sure that you're not just settling for the one contact you have. Who else in the business can you invite to the next one of those
100%.
meetings and then change them out, right?
What are the pain points across
Yeah.
the organization?
What are MSPs not doing well when it comes to sales and marketing? What are the easiest wins?
Yeah, I think some of the easiest wins is, and this is the bad news that a lot of times MSP owners don't want to hear, is that, look, if you're the owner of an MSP and you're sub 5 million or sub 7 million in top line revenue, you're the best salesperson and you should just keep selling.
Yep.
And your best option is not to hire a salesperson, but to hire a sales admin or hire an account manager and let them take some of that burden off your plate, because you are
able
the
to
best
multiply your impact.
you
Yeah,
are the
that's
best.
right. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the highest and best use of your time.
Yeah.
You are the best person to sell your company. So if you want to get out of being a salesperson, guess what you got to do? You have to sell to grow into hiring a salesperson. Then you get to be a sales manager. That's the next level of bad news. And then you need to grow into not being a sales manager. But you should be the one helping to sell until you get there. So I think that's the biggest mistake, is that it's really expensive and it's really hard to coach and teach someone to sell what you do. It's so much easier to train like a sales admin or an account manager to execute on that. So that's probably the one biggest tip, especially if you're sub 5 million or sub 7 million, you really got to grow into the about 7, 8, 9, 10 million range before you as an owner are probably going to be able to step out of involvement in sales.
Yeah, I agree. I hear so much that people wanting to, I'm going to stop doing sales, I'm going to hire a BDM, right? And in fact, sales is the thing you should be holding on to the longest.
right.
Maybe other than culture.
Right.
I think culture is probably but probably second to that is that growth, right? You have to be the one that's growing the business.
Yeah, you're the best person. No one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You can't outsource it. You can outsource pieces, but the sales leadership, sales management, that is you until you grow out of it.
What makes it so hard to replicate, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I think owners in particular, they are able to sell because they're owners and they understand the business and they can have great business conversations. And so the lessons that they've learned as being owners help them relate to other owners and sell easier to other owners. And so that's part of it. The other part of it is you typically don't have any process that you're following. And so if you're dealing with a prospect and be like, yeah, we can get you onboarded tomorrow, you would never let a salesperson come in and do that. So the things that you might be able to do as an owner to be successful selling are typically not the things that you would allow a salesperson that you hired to do to sell.
Yeah.
And they don't have the business acumen that you have as an owner either.
It's
So
the business acumen.
So it's very much the business acumen. So you need to also plan on walking alongside those people when you do it to teach them that stuff. But I think that's oftentimes where there's the biggest struggle, is that they and unless you're that owner that is just like, I can't stand sales, I don't want to spend any time in sales, then maybe you should outsource it. You need to find someone that's willing to build, willing to be that sales manager, willing to be that sales leader. But if that's not you, and it shouldn't be you, if you can help it, you need to be one of the
In my
drive it.
experience, though, in that scenario, MSPs they'll have two founders in that scenario. The one would be the technical one that you've just
exactly
described,
right.
and the other one would be the sales marketing.
That's exactly where I'm fortunate.
There you go.
My business partner is very technical, and I took the sales and sales marketing side of it. That's
That
what
makes sense.
really made it work.
The only other thing that just came into my mind then, when you're thinking about the owner who can be in a conversation going, right, we can onboard you tomorrow, and we can absolutely do that bespoke thing I just promised you.
That's right.
If you're a BDM and you're not the owner, that isn't believable. Like, the person's looking at you going, you're full of it. Like, I don't trust that you can actually execute on what you're promising. So it's overpromise, under-deliver, but you could do that. So
Well, yeah, if you had the salesperson promise the exact same thing and then go to your service team and say, hey, I just promised this, you got to deliver it, they'd look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
If the owner comes in and says that, they'll hop to it and do it because it's the owner.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that you have to be conscious of as an owner, even being self-aware, because sometimes you're judging your salesperson on their ability to sell as much and as well as you do, but you won't let them do the things that you did that made you successful selling what you sold.
Yeah, you're putting roadblocks in place, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The profitability of the business is a reflection of how you run it. It's not I get a lot of questions about, well, all you guys talk about is profit. Well, at the end of the day, we all work very hard. Running an MSP is a very difficult job. And so you want to make sure that you're extracting the maximum amount of profit from the business that you can. It will also protect you, the business owner, in a time of downturns, and at the time that the business owner chooses to exit, it's going to lead to a much happier exit. So we are very focused on profit, but profit comes from doing the right things every day in your business.
Yeah, and interestingly, I'm seeing increasingly some customers or prospects at least asking much more detailed questions about the financial performance of the MSP as part of their selection process. They want to see your balance sheet. They want to understand that you're sustainable and profitable, because huge risk for a customer if they're going on MSP, and that MSP might disappear if things go bad. So customers are being a little smarter about that as well, which is really good to see.
So I would assume that low profitability indicates there's the potential for corners to be cut, right?
Yeah, and so if you're a bad customer, you might be like, awesome, I can get a bargain here. But a good customer actually wants to see that the MSP is performing well.
Yeah, it's our belief that about 25% of the market, customer market, are value buyers. They're strategic buyers. They really, in other words, they understand IT's importance to them achieving their business goals. And so, and they understand how this is one of their top 2 business decisions for criticality. And so they're going to pay more to find an organization that's going to deliver a higher quality result to them. And but 3/4 of the market, another way of looking at it, about 3/4 of the market.
Either that's a very glass half full kind of an approach to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of buyers out there.
People want a bargain.
A lot of people out there that just want to check a box and say that they're doing security. Or worse, they maybe hate all things IT. They want help when they think they need it and don't want to do anything proactive. And so, as an MSP, you really want to design your process to avoid those type of customers and find the ones that you're talking about, who really are saying, look, we understand that not only do you need to make a profit, we want to work with an MSP that in fact makes a profit and a good one, so that you're around. Historically, we've seen the MSPs in this market around 18 months to 2 years behind the U.S. in trends, a little bit less behind in Europe and some of the trends. And so one of those is operational maturity level. So I'm doing 3 sessions this week. We're heavily focused on trying to help partners in this region improve their OML, because our data shows a clear correlation between OML and profitability. And so the partners here have an opportunity to learn from what's worked in other markets, which is really exciting. It's great. You can take this knowledge without having to be the one that learns the hard way. Take this knowledge and help move forward, and they can move forward and accelerate that transition. And so we're really focused this week on that. We're seeing private equity money coming in and a lot of the M&A activity heating up in this market, which is great for the partners here, whether or not you want to sell the private equity or not. Just having more buyers coming into the market means higher multiples. So valuations will continue to rise.
We were having a conversation maybe a couple of sessions past about often if there's a founder who is quite introverted, but technically astute, that they will partner with someone who is much more extroverted and maybe more capable from a sales perspective. Have you seen that there's a trend at all with the the success of the MSPs you work with where that actually works better?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Like most of the successful MSPs out there have a strong leader in both positions. And it's very, very, very rarely the same person. It's always the 2 people dynamic. And it's either that dynamic, the technical sales-led dynamic, so one's wants to focus on growth and doesn't give a rat's about technology, and the other one loves technology and doesn't ever want to have a sales conversation or think about marketing. There's either that dynamic or there's the visionary integrated dynamic, like the traction style dynamic, where you've got the visionary CEO that's got the ideas about solving the world's problems with an MSP, and then you've got their COO that sits underneath them that does it.
Yeah, which is probably how we grew up.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're the 2 main ones.
Structure and planning and operational excellence and it's I think a business gets to a point where that's absolutely what's required, right? You get past the visionary, the entrepreneur who can just make it happen, and then
the visionary entrepreneurs make the mess,
Yeah.
and then it's the COO or the integrator's got to come in and clean up the mess and figure it out from there. There's this shift that's happening in our industry from the old guard, let's call it, from the original MSP folk that are starting to retire, and there's some larger M&A and MSPs
Yeah,
being
they're all about that
acquired
20.
and-
They're all about 20 years. 20,
Correct. They've
yeah,
done that 20 to 30 years in the
yeah.
game, which is an innings and a half. Like I only
Yeah.
did 16, I think, before I was like, and these guys that have done 30 is like, holy moly. So there's a transition there, and there's young blood coming in underneath that, which I'm seeing, which is awesome because it's bringing those that more like these are young blood that have been brought up with social media and young blood that have been brought up with AI chomping on their heels and whatever. And and a lot of us old folk are sometimes a little bit harder to change our ways, and these young folk are coming in and going, no, we'll do it this way because I grew up with this stuff. And so I think that's good for the industry. It's bringing some growth in and but I think overall our industry, I've never seen it take a backward step. Everyone
changes,
it
right?
changes and morphs. We've got different challenges. Like I sold my MSP before cybersecurity was a major thing. It was a big thing when I had my MSP, but now it's a major thing, right? Like wildly major. And so that's a huge shift.
Is there a particular challenge that comes with being an MSP of less than 20 staff? You know, something that the next step up is how to get past that sort of scale.
Well, that's the stage that I got blocked at. Was kind of that 12 staff when we sold, and that because that's the size where you don't have enough for a full leadership team in your business. You don't have enough budget for a full leadership team, and so you're the CFO essentially. You might have an accounts person, but you're not. Then they're not running it like a CFO would run a 30 person or a 40 person or a 50 person business. You don't have someone that's dedicated in sales and marketing at a 15, 20 seat, or sometimes some do at the 20 seat mark. But you don't have a full-time salesperson and a full-time marketing person. You often throw them both into the same mix. And sales and marketing are completely different things, different roles, different personality types and whatever. So that 15, I'm going to say the 10 to 20 phase is such a hard phase in the MSP space, like such a hard phase. Because you go from being on the tools, and most MSP started on the tools, most MSP owners started on the tools, to then going, hey, I'm now been flung into this role where my main role now is as a leader and manager of people. And it's a completely different thing than managing an IT, like rolling out patches and making sure things are secured versus emotions and career paths and vulnerability and transparent and all of that stuff. And
you hit a number where you can no longer manage people individually. Like there's too many people for me to manage directly.
You need a tier. Correct. You need to put some layers in there. And I've been through that now. We're going through it again in our business at the moment, where it's that layer challenge of how do we structure an org chart now? Like at 15 staff, it's like the org chart is we kind of all do everything and you're a technician and whatever. But once you get to 20, you kind of you got to put intentionality into your org chart at that point in time.
Yeah. And I must say, I think for us, it probably happened again at 50.
Yeah,
it happened again at 150, and probably at 300 now. It's just happened again.
Yeah.
Right?
Each phase you go through. Like, what's the
job.
org chart that's now going to take us from 150 to 300 now? And it's certainly not the org chart that got us to where we are now. It's completely different. I'm comfortable around my people, but I'm not comfortable around the other business owners that are often bigger than me, right? Like smaller MSPs that are under 20 seats, they're looking for business owners that are 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 seats out there, right? And so they're talking to business owners that are probably a little bit scary to them, right? Whereas here, they're just talking to their peers. They're
familiar
peers.
problems, same experiences.
Exactly right. Out there is unfamiliar. It's people that are running a business that's 5 times the size of theirs, and they're scary to them. They also have to be on their best behavior too, right? Because hey, I might want you as a client.
Well, not what I saw last night.
Look, I've always said that the ideal size customer for an MSP is someone that's the same size as you.
Yeah,
and you kind of grow up together.
You know,
and that's certainly, I think, for us, continued to prove true that we can continue to kind of not just attract the same size customer as we grow, but that they're also on the same journey. The best customers are the ones like that are on a similar
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
How can we make sure that your level of business acumen is strong enough that you can have business conversations which technology decisions would naturally fall at the back of? You know, to your point, you don't want to start by going, hey, we've actually got a security product that I think you should buy. It's like, no, don't do that.
It's got all these bells and whistles. Yeah, ones and zeros.
But instead talk about, God, almost anything like, are you part of a logistics chain? Is there any, data, third-party data you're having to hold? Do you know what the expectations are around that? Like, those are questions, right? Like, but even with, customer satisfaction, talk to me about your current onboarding experience for a new client. How are comms generated through that process? What are the touch points to the customer? Okay, what can we automate there? Like, it really is. I think you kind of nailed it. It's a business conversation that we need to keep having to decommoditize these things.
And you have to your point, you have to keep having it. Yeah. It's not just when you do the initial sale, it's as continually, whether it be that QBR or that quarterly, but you have to have that conversation continuously because their requirements change. Technology evolves.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the wider opportunity. And that's how, you avoid someone else knocking on the door and kind of having a bigger conversation that all of a sudden they're asking the question, the customer's pain points have now changed. Yeah. And they're now tackling, at a high maturity level, they're going after something new. So you've got to, I think it's important that You start with that business conversation, but you keep having that business conversation.
Which is, I totally agree, which is great, we're so aligned. And I described that the other day to the team as creating space for the conversations, because they're not just going to happen organically. They're not going to just ring you and go, hey, tell me about this thing. You need to make sure that you're not just settling for the one contact you have. Who else in the business can you invite to the next one of those meetings
100%.
and then change them out, right?
What are the pain points across the organization? If you're just dealing with the decision makers, you're probably not actually getting the true fundamental pain points.
Yeah.
Okay?
And name one person in a business that isn't impacted by technology or couldn't have their employee experience improved through the use of technology, right? It's just everywhere. It's everything. It's intrinsic to everyone's role.
It is. I think that's the wider opportunity. Going deep with the customer, understanding their business and what they're actually doing. If we look at the products and the vendors at the conference or at IT Nation, they are products. Yeah, they can solve business problems, but it's better to understand what those problems are first, and then find the right solution, the right product.
I said, I don't know where I first read this, but it was a long, long time ago. But it's people, particularly in this market, ANZ, maybe a bit different in America, other places, not sure, but people here do not like to be sold to, they like to buy. So you've got to take them on a path that starts with identifying an opportunity or a problem, and then give them the space and the reason and the desire to buy that, right? You can't go in and go, you should buy this. You can't sell it.
Yeah, otherwise you're a walking, talking brochure.
Yeah.
Right? You may as well just put a data sheet in front of them and,
That's fair. Yeah. Thanks so much, Peter. That was awesome. Really appreciate you coming along and giving us all that info.
Nice to see you guys.
All right, thanks so much. Good seeing you,
All
mate.
right. Likewise. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate it.